Or did you see my email?
I saw you sent it. I had not looked at it yet. Chris, you couldn't get out of the office to come join us?
Got a lot of them catching up on, so I figured I wouldn't get the almost 2-hour drive there and 2-hour drive back, but I'm gonna go to the board meeting, so make up for it.
All right, there you go.
It's a pretty day for a drive.
You got the best of the best there anyway. I think Andy and Joe's gonna make it, so
Oh, both are coming.
I thought Andy said he was coming.
Joe's here. We're just missing Andy. All we need is Joe. Less updates. Mine's gonna be short. Doing SEMPO day in the cities. Ryan and Amy are making.
They're not.
She emailed me just before I left, actually.
Good morning.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Rodney.
Say again.
Hey, thanks, Rodney, for sending that.
You're welcome. There's a young lady.
I'm gonna
6.
contact them all and see how they should.
Seeking award at the East West Gateway Annual Luncheon Meeting.
Should be okay.
I can't remember her name. The brochure that got back to the office. She works with
I don't have.
Tom Brand.
TPC.
Engineer. Meeting.
I can even see his face.
Yeah. Anyway, but he presented her with award. She started working at MoDOT, when she was 47 years old. And she, her husband, Shirley Norris. Yeah. And when they say, before you could see her, when they were speaking, and they're saying that starting when she was 47 and, had kids that, pretty much got through school and her husband was killed and. Alex put a picture of you. She had a degree from.
I saw that. It was very flattering. What comes of hair there?
Then they said,
If you got a picture of her,
I she was in her
I can get you an update. I didn't mind it though.
40 year.
Barely recognize that strapping young man.
When I went to work. She's 92 years old. So she's overseen 45 runs. Should be first in the office every
We
week.
can take that.
Really? And just, that she was private.
It'll get easier.
It's just really refreshing. Good to see, She said, she enjoys her work and something every day. That's really good.
Yeah, she.
So she's obviously she's celebrity known.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I first. Yeah, I mean, I've been with Moda for almost 20 years.
People that
When I first
said
started,
they
yes,
wouldn't
you
be
were
here.
7.
They're not.
And
Have a name, they say that.
yeah, project manager and, doing
I
those
think
things.
we'll
They
be
say
safe.
she
I don't think we're gonna garner a quorum.
sodas and cigarettes or something. Well, I've seen her in a few video conferences where.
All right, I got 11 o'clock. We do not have a quorum, but we shall soldier on unofficially. I don't even know that I'm actually calling anything to order, but we'll start with introductions.
Marla, KLG Engineering, Central Staff.
Jeff Long, Southeast Missouri. Drew Christian, SEMO Regional Planning Vice Chair.
Alex McElroy, Central Staff.
Rodney Bullinger, City of Jackson.
Tom Caldwell, IDOT.
Joe Gillian, MoDOT.
And online, we have Chris Crocker, Daniel Whitecap, Betsy Tracy, and Andrew Meyer.
All right. That means it's up to the minutes. My communications, member reports. We have public wants to be. All right. Alex, talk about the UP.
Yes, okay, so my timeline, because we don't need any formal action. It would have been nice if we had a forum and they said, okay, advance with these. But my timeline for our work plan is to bring it back to the planning committee next month in April. And have them review the draft. And then, pending any comments, release it for public comment. And then do the 7-day public comment and take it to the board with a recommendation from the planning committee to adopt it. That'll give it May and June for state and federal approval. That one. So time-wise, we're doing okay. I did take our draft list of projects to our board members. On the one page are very similar to I gave our planning committee. But I did put the list of projects that you guys selected at the top as recommendations for projects for the fiscal year. Nothing changed. I was able to provide budget numbers for our board members after you guys selected which projects. The one tweak that I do have is after reviewing prices for our safety action plan, the regional trail connection study, and the origin and destination study. Both of those, well, all three of those are going to be a little bit larger than I anticipated, mostly the regional trail connection and the origin destination study. So what I proposed to the board was continue on with the regional trail connection study. We estimated that to be about 125,000. And then keep alive the origin destination study with a budget figure that could cover investment into the analytic tools like that street light data. And what I shared with the board was I see a lot of potential with that software, but I don't necessarily know that we need an annual subscription or a project-based subscription. So my thinking was, we'll put that budget number in there. I'll continue to research benefits and deliverables from origin destinations. And we'll put out in our solicitation for the comprehensive safety action plan. We'll put language in the solicitation that we would like respondents to have some sort of analytical tool comparable to what we saw in the streetlight data. So multimodal transportation traffic, intersection analysis, also vehicular street volume, speeds. And I think that will get a lot more better data for our comprehensive safety action plan. And it'll give us an idea of the capabilities of that type of software and what type of projects we want to line it with in the future. So the budget number is, if we put out a solicitation, we select a firm, but they don't have the analytical tool that we want, we could say, that's okay. We'll do a project-based subscription for this safety action plan. Use our budget number for that in the origin destination study to fund it, and then garner whether we think it is appropriate for us to continue to use for other plans. Other than that, all of the other plans remain. Selecting all of these will spend down our planning fund reserve a little bit, but it'll still leave us with about $100,000 to $150,000 buffer before we hit that threshold where we would lose money with the carryover balance allotment. But spends it down responsibly. We still have a reserve that we can retain for future plans. Do you have a question?
No. Well, yes, your reserve banking amount has changed this last year? Is that what you were being allowed to?
MoDOT allows a carryover policy of the CPG funds that we received from Missouri of 5 years. They changed that to 4 years. So where we were allowed is about 685,000 based on 5 years of planning funds. It's reduced to 4 years now. So originally, we weren't in trouble of hitting the 5-year threshold. We were a little close. This spins us down to where we're in a good space to where we won't have to worry about losing funds by accumulating too much in the carryover balance. And we try to retain somewhat of a balance as a smaller MPO because we have federal required documents like our MTP and our STIP, which can be larger ticket items that our annual PL allotment would challenge us to afford in one fiscal year. So having that reserve is helpful for us. So barring any questions or insight, I did get a response from Mark Phillips that his top 3 were still the comprehensive safety action plan, the regional trail connection study, and the intersection studies. I can speak a little bit about our budget numbers if you would like. Those are based on my research and networking with other MPOs and studies they've done.
Any questions?
Okay, so my plan going forward then is I did provide a draft to our state partners and our federal partners of our UPWP. I have a printout of the draft here. They're in the process of issuing comments now. And then when I come back in April, I'll have their comments incorporated. You guys can review it now or review it in April, issue any comments, and then I'll be asking the planning committee to release it for public comment with a recommendation to group to the board.
We will move on to unspent PO policy.
All right, that one I left on there, so we have at least 2 items and it made it look busier. Really, the only updates with that is I'm still working with Tom on the agreements and the budget template. And then I believe once we get those all turned in, we'll have a formal agreement that we'll have our city manager sign. So we're on track to get those additional funds for our 24 fiscal year.
And you got my note where having a financial person.
I got it signed by our finance
I
director,
could remember her name possibly.
Yeah, Lisa Mills.
Yeah.
and I'll be able to send that to you.
That's fine. So, just thinking, this is what where MoDOT, you're allowed, have been allowed that 5 years of reserve. That's what this unspent fund is basically, but in bulk, those are so that's the problem with the just not expending those amounts.
There's always a risk of losing.
Eventually, FHWA it's looked down upon, having those gross.
Carryover balance. Understand. But that's all I have.
Right. Any questions on that? I don't know. Moving on to member reports.
All right, very short update. Amy's not here, but she had shared that they're working on a supplemental agreement for our next city council meeting for the Kings Highway Transportation Alternatives Program. That's the crosswalks for Cape Rock and Kings Highway. And then they're negotiating engineering service contracts for the sidewalks on Cape Rock, which is also the TAC grant Transportation Alternatives Program that we've gotten in 2022. Moving forward on both those.
City of Jackson.
Our 2023 annual concrete street repair program is out to bid, opening on March 7th. The annual asphalt program, draft bid documents are being put together now, so that will be out to bid shortly. Sunset Bridge replacement project, we are designing that through Chris Kaler Engineering. So we're in the design phase there. West Mary Street Bridge project construction is ongoing. We have to extend that contract through the middle of May, so that the asphalt plants can open and the contractor can finish that project. Deerwood Roundabout at Highway 61 design is ongoing by Lockmuller. We should have a preliminary layout submitted to the city very soon. East Main Street sidewalk project, that is also a TAP funded improvement. MoDOT's comments on the engineering services contract have been sent back to our consulting engineer, Dakin Farmer Workman. T program, the Main Street pedestrian corridor study. City received a notice to proceed from MoDOT on that, so we'll move forward with Lockmuller on that study. And finally, the Humboldt Creek Recreation Trail Project Phase 3, which is from the Jackson High School to the soccer park. Initial notice letters to the property owners were sent out last month, and Smith and Company continues design on that project. Thank you.
City. Road district. Where's it? Here. I'm here. Working on the tip update. I expect to have the transit project in just the next couple of days from both CTA and the university. And once I get those, get those put into the online tip, generate the tables that are needed for that, plug those into the existing draft tip narrative, and that will be ready to go. So I would expect by probably just the next week or two, that'll be wrapped up. Ready to proceed with notices and TPC that. Into the my planning partners meeting last week. Saw Alex there. I can speak on that. He was there. That's all I've got. Ready? MoDOT wants to go first. Andy, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. We've got a couple of things worth talking about. You mentioned the planning partner meeting last week in Jefferson City. That was a good opportunity to gather together and just kind of talk about what's coming up ahead. One of the things that was discussed was the inflationary impacts on the STIP. We've been talking about that for a while, and certainly that theme has come up in these meetings more than once. I can share with you that we're in the process right now of drafting the next round of STIP updates, and one of the things that Mike and his staff has shared with me is that we have around 400 projects in our STIP, and of those about 133 with a value of about $175 million in total are probably going to be delayed at least a year in order for us to balance the the inflationary impacts we're seeing and the impact that has year to year on our program. The focus is obviously making sure that we meet our existing commitments first. So that's the idea of making sure that we deliver what's in there before we add anything. And the delays are to just basically necessary to make the cash flow work. So that's roughly 1/3 of the projects in our program over the next 5 years. And again, it's difficult to get into any details on any specific projects at this time because obviously we will publish a draft and take comments from different entities involved, all our stakeholders, and then seek approval from the commission. So a lot of this is just up in the air, but I do think it's probably realistic to assume that it will have some impacts on some projects that are local, including the Route K corridor improvements and the Route Z projects west of Gordonville. And there'll be other projects that could potentially be impacted as well. So more information to come as that fully develops. I think that's everything I had, Joe. So I will stop and let you or Chris go next.
Chris.
Chris, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. As Annie mentioned, and I think you guys have already heard this before, but we are going to be delaying the Route K and 25 roundabout project from May letting to an October of 2023 letting. The big reason for that was that we are considering access at the gas station and how to best control that. And we've had to shift one of the property entrances on the southwest corner of the project, which is creating some delays in the right of way and the environmental process for us. So the Jackson Route 61 replacement of the Hubble Creek Bridge and the full depth replacement through that section. We met with the city here recently and went over kind of the final touches on a lot of the project. I'm currently working on an agreement for that project to outline the city's responsibilities as far as some of the costs we're splitting on that and the routes or the entrances that we plan to close and those sorts of things. It's proven to be pretty complicated to incorporate all that into one agreement. So I'm doing my best, but I hope to get that out very soon as a draft version to the city for review. And then because I had to modify several things, we will have to send that to our chief counsel office for review and approval, which takes some time as well. So hoping to get that done before the May letting, but it could be that we're kind of sliding in at the end to get that executed. Later today, I think we have a meeting to discuss the inspection that was completed on the exit 93 southbound flyover bridge. That project, I know we've worked with the city and SEMPO and our consultant and come up with a lot of options versus just replacing the bridge in place because of funding restraints and things like that. We're trying to go back to the drawing board to see if we can potentially do a rehab versus a replacement of the structure to buy us some additional time so that maybe we can consider some different partnerships down the road. So we will be meeting later today to look at that rehab and what options we have with that project. I think that's pretty much it. I did want to plug our Adopt a Highway program. It's that time of year where we're really putting an emphasis on litter pickup, and our maintenance folks are going to be devoting some additional time and resources to trying to combat that. We know, generally speaking, the more problematic routes where we see more litter than others. So we're going to try to systematically do that, but we're also going to be reminding all of our adopters that it's been a long winter and it's time to get out there and do some spring cleaning. Through the Cape area, I've been working with our Adopt a Highway coordinator, and she said that there's a lot of adopters that have kind of defaulted on the program requirements. So you may see some signs being taken down and put up that says it's available. So if anybody is interested in any of those that do become available, please let me know, and I'll be happy to get you lined out with that. So that's all I have.
Chris? Jim?
We talked about STIP development very briefly, and we are locking down our internal systems today for the district input. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll have your list available for the next TIP development. I don't anticipate a lot of new projects, as we've kind of mentioned. The inflationary pressures are affecting that. So there'll be some projects probably shifting a little bit. You're getting a new TIP anyway, the 24 through 27 TIP. So, but there'll be new numbers obviously associated with that. And we are changing our annual inflation numbers that have traditionally been 3% in the TIP or in the STIP are going to be moving to 7%. At least that's what it's going to be now. And, you know, may move back down as we move forward if inflation continues to go down. But anyway, we'll have new information for you to make sure we keep you busy.
Thank you.
With the new TIP tool, I guess the TIP tool is also kind of in flux, right? So that'll be, you may get a new TIP and a TIP tool in the same year.
Good.
We wouldn't do that to just anybody.
Anything else? I don't.
It's the TIP tool. TIP tool is the tool that they use to put all the information on the projects in, and it's available online. Ours is by DTS. I'm not sure if any of the Southern Illinois or any of the MPO
That's what
in
we got.
Illinois use that. That's what we have. They went through probably 4 years, I guess 4 years, 5 years ago. We went through the TIP tool selection process, and so basically they could pull it up on the computer and you could look and see any of the projects by sponsor, keyword. You can see a map of them as well. So you can see table, individual projects. So
Where the process I got is state why not the NCO do their individually as they wish.
right.
But at this time, I'm not sure DPS something that's expected and hopefully. But I don't have any other items.
I think so. Prior to that software 5 years ago, it was something that we just manually put together. I kind of started way back when at Betsy's urging to kind of put something together, and then we moved. Drew took it over for a bit, and we moved to something that helped with the calculations and did the percentages, and probably made things quite a bit easier.
Yeah.
A little bit more polished, and gave us the mapping aspect of it so that we could publish it. It's available on the SEMPO website, southeastmpo.org. You can kind of look at the TIP tool there. Sorry, Drew uses it much more than I do. He's on the back end of it, putting his stuff in.
FHWA.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, as Alex mentioned, we reviewed the UPWP draft and we sent back some comments. Betsy and myself, we kind of looked over it, we kind of collaborated. So those are the comments from both of us. If you have any questions, please feel free. I'll be happy to clarify anything that you have any questions with. That's all I have for right now, unless Betsy has anything to add.
No, thanks, Dan, for summarizing that. Just wanted to, congratulate the NPO, getting the SS4A grants. We're still, since those are direct recipients now, we're kind of still working through the processes of how that's going to look and the contracting. So, just cautionary note, don't get a contractor on board until you get all this worked out with FHWA. So, but again, congratulations. I think it'll be a good template for the future and getting additional funds for safety projects. Thank you.
Don't think we have anyone from the FTAs, so that brings us to staff report.
Yeah, I just have one item. Unfortunately, the city of Cape Girardeau had applied for the Reconnecting Communities pilot program. And we learned yesterday that that application was unsuccessful. And looking at what was awarded, there was a total of 415 applications requesting $1.76 billion in grant funds. And the Reconnecting Communities pilot program has $1 billion to disperse over the 5 years of the program. So obviously a lot more requests and needs out there than they had funding for. Of the 1.76 billion, there's only 185 million allocated this cycle, which was given to 45 different recipients. Let's see if I have the breakdown of. It was 39 planning grants that they had awarded and 6 capital construction projects. So obviously a very competitive program. I didn't know how competitive or popular it would be, but obviously it is very popular and competitive. But another option to consider is through the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed in August of 2022. There's a $3 billion program called Neighborhood Access and Equity Grant Program, which is similar to the goals outlined in the Reconnecting Communities pilot program. The details of that program is expected to be released this spring. So that's something I'll be monitoring as well. And that might be something our member entities will want to track, and I'll provide updates as I get them. But it's a similar project to the Reconnecting Communities. So more opportunities for sidewalk, neighborhood connections, planning studies, and capital projects. That's all I got.
Any other business?
Hey, Alex, I forgot to mention something, and you guys are already aware of it because you were at the planning partners meeting, but for those of you that were not, I did want to mention that BRO, the bridge rehabilitation program, we're going to have another call for projects tentatively May 2020 or May of this year for 2025 funds. We had heard at one time we'll also have a TAP call again this year, which was kind of a surprise to me. I figured we wouldn't have one for another 2 years, but it will be for 2024 and 2025 funds. They're still debating on whether or not they want to combine that with the BRO call in May or push it off to July. So sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Thank you, Chris.
Any other business? Hearing none, we have reached the end of the unofficial meeting, so no adjournment needed. We're just done, I guess.
1 minute before 11:30. It's not a record, but it's pretty good.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.